Hi, everyone, and welcome back to More Than a Store, the podcast that takes you beyond the clothing racks and into the heart of Goodwill San Antonio. I'm your host, Libby Castillo, Director of Strategic Communications, and I'm extremely excited about today's episode. You're probably all familiar with the Goodwill in your neighborhood, but have you ever wondered how your local Goodwill is supported by the National Goodwill Organization? Here to tell us all about that today, we have two very, very special guests. President and CEO of Goodwill Industries International, Steve Preston, and our very own President and CEO of Goodwill San Antonio, Carlos Contreras. Carlos and Steve, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you, Libby. Thanks for having us.
Yep, thank you. Very happy to be here.
So this is such a special treat for our listeners today. Steve, we're going on our second season here at More Than the Store podcast, and we're so happy to be able to offer our community a chance to learn of what Goodwill is doing on the national level and in support of local Goodwills like us here in San Antonio. But before we get into current and future initiatives, I'd like to give our listeners the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you.
Right before Goodwill, I had run two different companies as CEO. Before that, I did a stint in the federal government. I ran two federal agencies. I ran the U.S. Housing Administration, and then after that, I ran the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And so I've been at Goodwill almost 6.5 years now. Ultimately, even though we talk about being a national organization, we are about community, right?
Correct.
We are about what you all are doing in San Antonio is Goodwill, right? Mm-hmm. What's happening locally. And so one of the reasons it's just so great to come down here is to connect with what's happening in real lives, in real communities, with real people.
Right. And that actually goes into our next question is, here in San Antonio, in our region, we have 24 stores and 2 outlets. And for the listeners who may not know, can you tell us how many stores there are across the nation and how they are helping the socioeconomic impact of Goodwill at the national level?
Yeah, well, we have 3,300 stores across the nation. We have 140,000 employees. And we help over 2 million people a year with various human services. And when I say we, that is a federation of 153 independent local organizations that all have the collective brand Goodwill. And so it is 153 versions of San Antonio. Right. San Antonio is certainly one of our larger, more well-developed markets, and anybody who knows San Antonio Goodwill understands that it's a remarkable enterprise. I'll never forget speaking with a woman who'd gone through a digital skills program, who said, where I grew up, people didn't talk about career pathways. Mm-hmm. I didn't know where to go. She ultimately ended up homeless with her 2 daughters. But after this, with the support of Goodwill, she said, I've come this far and I'm heading for the stars. It was a complete re-envisioning of her lives. So, the work that you all do here and the work that we do in other parts of the country really is transformational for people.
Right, and there's a great need out there. And Carlos, he kind of told us what it was on the national. Can you kind of localize it for us and what you were seeing here at Goodwill San Antonio in our region?
Sure, but I do want to echo one of the things that Steve says so eloquently. It changes the life trajectory of that individual, but it also does it for the entire family.
Right.
Because now families can envision what it looks like to achieve a credential beyond what their parents or their sister or their niece or their grandmother has achieved heretofore. So that the conversations around the dining room table change considerably. Mm-hmm. It's no longer, what are you going to do? It's what educational program you can get involved in. Mm-hmm. You're going to go to college? Let's go to college. You can do it. I know you can do it because I did it. Mm-hmm. And I'm showing the way. And we do see a lot of people that say, I want to continue beyond what Goodwills have been able to provide for me. So we're real excited about that. Right. Locally, in the state of Texas, there are 13 independently run nonprofit Goodwills across the state of Texas. And roughly about 10,000 employees and close to 300 stores across the state. Wow. Goodwills in large and small communities offer a lot of training services the way we do here in San Antonio. So there's close to 6,000 individuals who have obtained a credential. Some of it's a high school diploma, some of it's a a GED or equivalency. Some of it is a credential beyond that that helps them for their career beyond the hourly wage jobs as they may have been involved in.
Right.
That there are all of the Goodwills, many of the Goodwills actually provide placement services. So close to 8,000 individuals last year received placement services from one of the 13 Goodwills across the state. In terms of economic impact that occurs in the state, it's close to $2 billion in economic impact when you think about wages paid, you think about construction that's done, you think about all of the economic drivers that Goodwills can provide, and then the local governments and the school districts all benefit as well. There's a fiscal impact to them, and last year it was about $30 million, a little over $31 million that was generated in taxes.
I want to mention one other thing that you brought up, Carlos, which is such an important point, which is the multi-generational impact of the work that you do here in San Antonio. There's so much research to show the impact on children and their children. And just last night, I was at a board dinner for another organization, and I was sitting across from a senior executive of a major retailer. And he said, my father got his high school degree when I was 13. Wow. And he got on the bus every day that he had classes. And when he graduated, he looked at me and said, you don't have any excuse not to do this. And now he is a senior executive at a major retailer. Yeah. And he credits that as one of the most impactful moments of his life, and his father's example of having done that as the most impactful example in his life. And now he's raising a family. He's got a terrific job. His children have a completely different future than they would have had otherwise, potentially. And it's such an important thing. And one of the reasons I'm down here is to celebrate the 80th anniversary of Goodwill San Antonio. And you can only imagine over the course of 80 years how many families and children of those families and grandchildren of those families have had their lives changed, and that impact fans out into communities. Right. And so it really is just a multiplicative effect.
It really is. And you both touched on something. Steve, you told the story about the woman that you met who didn't know what was available out there because she didn't have the resources. And Carlos, you mentioned that this has generational impact. And so learning and having these conversations at your table and seeing that, mom and dad did this, it's so impactful. And I love that we're able to offer these services at no cost. Yep, right. Because of the donations that we get from our community. It's just fantastic. It
is phenomenal. And you and I, Libby, have had the experience of attending our graduations, and we'll have mothers and daughters or fathers and sons graduating together from one of our academies. So it's pretty phenomenal.
So it's so amazing to see it firsthand, these stories that you're telling.
It is.
Goodwill cares for people just as much as they care for the planet. Now, Steve, can you share a little bit more about Goodwill's environmental impact? And are there any sustainability initiatives coming down the road?
Oh, there are just, really extensive sustainability efforts. First of all, our basic business model is to keep items in reuse as much as possible. And when you sort of look at the hierarchy of sustainability, reuse is at the top of the pyramid, right? And so we keep over 4 billion pounds of things in reuse every single year. Then when you look at things that don't sell in our stores because maybe they're broken or torn or whatever, we have a very extensive program of recycling. Clothing that doesn't sell in a store that isn't really usable may end up in industrial applications. We may end up as shredded materials that goes into cushions. And then as we look forward, we are really on the cutting edge, really across the world in terms of the potential impact we're having on textile recycling. There are not very evolved technologies in textile recycling, or at least there haven't been up until now. And what we are seeing is a lot of emerging technologies to turn polyester textiles all the way back into pellets that then get turned into fiber that then get turned into clothing again.
Wow.
So true circularity. And we have entered into a memorandum of understanding with one of the most groundbreaking technologies, we believe, in the marketplace today, perhaps the most. We are very hopeful that we will be announcing a deal with them in the coming months as they build their first facility in the U.S. as a primary provider of recyclable polyester material. So, top of the tier is reuse. Let's keep those. Let's reuse that clothing. Next is kind of let's keep it in industrial applications or whatever. But if it can't be, can we turn it back into fiber? The other thing I'd say is, when I look across the nation to see what local organizations are doing, many of them are partnering in really innovative solutions at the local level. So, for example, in one large area, we are partnering with a university to turn unrecyclable plastics into extruded plastic household items. And so you see these things that you can't really do anything with in a normal, in recycle. And all of a sudden you're seeing all these different household items made out of them. We're turning plastic bags into Trax decking materials. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of plastic bags each year going into decking materials. So the leaders like you all in local communities across the country are innovating by partnering with local local recycling solutions to turn items that we thought we really couldn't do a whole lot with before into something that has a very long life.
Right.
That's exactly right. Libby, if I can just jump in a little bit
Please.
on to further elaborate on what Steve was saying in terms of what's happening locally. In our community, we have been searching for a solution for a number of the items that do not sell in our stores. And one item that's of concern are things like cardboard and other kinds of things that we have. We do our best to try to keep things from entering into the landfill, but sometimes things do end up in the landfill. So we've actually partnered with the local recycling entity that does service for the city of San Antonio, Balcones Recycling, and they're actually receiving our waste and removing from the waste items they can repurpose before it hits any landfill. So that was a partnership that we created locally to do that. If that kind of recycling can work, then our goal is to do what other Goodwills have done with us, which is to share that opportunity with other communities so they can look at their local recycling entities that are handling residential waste to see if you can create that partnership. Phoenix has entered into a really interesting relationship with some folks that are taking plastics. Plastics is another item besides textiles that you struggle with if it doesn't sell. What can happen to those items? And actually, they've come to San Antonio, that company they've partnered with, have come to San Antonio, and we're exploring, could we do the same thing here that they've done in Phoenix? So exciting things, Steve, happening all over across the country.
Yeah, one of the most exciting things about Goodwill is we have those opportunities to test and innovate locally, and if something works, we then have the ability to learn from each other and expand the idea. And
we know that Goodwills nowadays are facing competition from the private sector. So what do you think is the key to Goodwill's longevity, and how does Goodwill stay competitive in this market?
Yeah, it's a very important question because we are seeing billions of dollars flow into private sector thrift stores, corporate-owned thrift stores, corporate-owned reuse websites, and so there's a lot of capital, a lot of talent going into it. And one of the reasons is Goodwill's done such a phenomenal job of building the industry, right? So what does that mean for us? First of all, it means we have to be great competitors. We have to have great stores. We have to be able to offer consumers, a terrific shopping experience, terrific value. When they come into Goodwill, they have to say, "This is a great store, and we love shopping here." In addition, I think it is so important for people to understand that every dollar that a person spends in a Goodwill store is a dollar that stays in that community. And it stays in that community to do good things for the people in the community. So many of the people we hire are people who come with challenges in life. We may be the organization that gave them a job because we understand those challenges and we support them and we give them training. And if they get if they go for one of our digital skills classes, for example, and get certified, they may say, I want a job in technology now, and they may move on and get a great job there. But we were the place they came first because we let them through. We invited them through the door, and we coached them and supported them through the way. Thousands of people come through our job centers. Many of the dollars that support those job centers come right out of the store, and we if you're bringing in that gently loved dress, know that the value of that is supporting somebody who may have recently come out of prison and is trying to figure out how to get back on their feet. And they come to us, and we are shoulder to shoulder with them throughout that journey, helping them get the support they need so that they can move beyond a very difficult place in life and be able to take care of themselves and envision a different future. So I think those are two really important things. And I think the last thing I'd say is really, Libby, what you'd asked just a minute ago, which is we are driving textile sustainability in a way because of our scale, because of our knowledge, and because of our network of expertise in ways that nobody else in this industry is. Okay. And so those goods not only stay in your community and the value stays in your community, but they're also helping us figure out how to be, better to our planet in many ways. You should walk out. You should. After you donate or after you shop, just be confident that so many good things are happening because of that.
And I think it's podcasts like this and other communication efforts that we have that tell the stories of this impact that somebody who donates to us has, and the opportunities they have to do things locally. In our case, in terms of environmental sustainability, I do want to share one part. We too are very thoughtful about how we try to keep things in circulation, reuse products, et cetera. Our founder locally, one of our founders locally 80 years ago, was a business member. He was a banker. He was an entrepreneur, and he cared deeply about the environment. His name is Bill Sinkin, and many of the listeners may have met him and know him. He was distinguished by his bow tie. Right. But one of the things that he did was, in addition to starting Solar San Antonio and help drive our local municipally owned utility to invest more in solar as an energy generation, in the 1980s, he was one of the first bankers, or maybe the first banker in the state of Texas to put rooftop solar on one of his banks. Wow. And last year, Goodwill San Antonio became the first Goodwill in the state of Texas to install rooftop solar in 4 of our stores. We now have them on 6 of our stores. The energy savings that we have because of that investment goes directly into mission dollars and helps people in the community. So we're anticipating that on an annual basis, those 6 stores will generate savings of about $150,000, $160,000 a year, and we can then apply that directly to mission, to helping train people.
It's incredible. And thank you both so much for sharing. And, we're mentioning a lot that we're celebrating our 80th year of service here in San Antonio, and we're really looking forward to a long, long future in our community. And speaking of communities, Steve, you have a unique vantage point as president and CEO of Goodwill Industries International, as you're able to see things from a national level. What trends are you seeing across the country in terms of skills needed for employees to be successful in the workplace, and what does that mean for Goodwill today and in the future?
Yeah, that is one of the most important questions we face every day, because when people come to us, we want to make sure that the support we're providing them is relevant to the jobs in their community and relevant for their futures. So for a number of years now, we've been offering digital skills programs across the country, and we've worked with a number of partners to help us expand those. Over 90% of the job listings in the country right now require a digital skill, and that has grown over the last number of years. digital skills for individuals who don't have them are completely breakthrough. They open doors that have been shut to them for many years, and they can truly help a person change their career trajectory. Now, with the emergence of AI, that's a whole new wave, which is really fundamentally different than digital skills. It's sort of, in some ways connected to it, but it's a whole new set of skills and a whole new way of thinking. So we are beginning to embed AI skills into our digital skills training. We just entered an agreement with Google to try to get 200,000 job seekers to take an AI training class that would provide a Google certification. We're making those available to people. In fact, anybody here in the community who wants it will be able to receive it, and any other nonprofit. So we're now working on behalf of Google to expand availability there. We launched a program about a year ago in an area called clean tech. Clean tech jobs are those jobs that are focused on areas in the economy that are emerging, like solar panels and EV stations and those types of things. Over the next 10 years, we estimate that 9 million new jobs will be created in that sector. So we have worked closely with Accenture, one of our other corporate partners. They've been incredibly helpful in helping us design a class and develop kind of the facility and equipment needs to be able to deliver those classes to help people who are, we're focusing on people who are unemployed or underemployed, and within 5 or 6 weeks in this boot camp are moving into jobs where they become EV station maintenance professionals or solar panel installation professionals.
Wow.
It is, it is completely breakthrough for the individuals that we're supporting. And then if you look more broadly, healthcare is an emerging field. You all provide, a number of certifications for healthcare professionals right here in San Antonio. Those are very important for people, and especially with the aging population, it's just going to continue to grow. Trades are very important and are one of the areas where people with lower wage jobs can move into something that is significantly higher wage, comparatively speaking, in a relatively short period of time, and have what I would say is a pretty reliable job and an opportunity for advancement as well. So all of those are areas where the economy is driving growth in those fields, where those jobs are attractive economically, and for the most part, they offer continuing job progression as well, which I think is so important for people to be able to go into a role and see a future that continues to provide them opportunity.
Absolutely. Carlos, on the local level, what are we seeing?
Much of the same, Libby. We're seeing much of the same in terms of need for skills. One of the things that employers are telling us about is really focusing on soft skills, what we often refer to as the soft skills that are needed. Certainly they need access to digital literacy and be able to operate computers, because everything is computerized, and more our economy is relying on artificial intelligence and the ability to access computers, and even our phones are a high-powered computer in our hand. But in terms of what employers are talking to us about and what they really need, they will do training themselves. In many of our large employers, what they really want is somebody who has the ability to understand how to resolve conflict appropriately and how to, show up to work and bring their best self to work every day. So part of what we are doing is building in those skills that are needed so that somebody can be successful at the workplace, whether they come in at an entry-level job or whether they're going to get a more advanced job and get a certification. So we have made job readiness part of every one of our training programs,
Right.
whether you're getting a medical assisting certification or you're getting a construction certification. Steve mentioned the AI training that we need to do. Goodwill San Antonio has embraced that, and many of our employees are going through that. I need to sign up, Steve. I haven't done it yet. I need my certification, but we need to do that as well.
And you touched on something that I wanted to remind our listeners of. We recently did a podcast regarding our life skills program, and it does help with that conflict resolution and providing them with the resources that our own team members might need in their positions as well.
That's a really good point, Libby. Everything we do for the community, we do that for our own employees as well.
Right.
And that's what really, I think, distinguishes Goodwill from many other organizations. A lot of employers are very good employers. We have some incredible employers who are beloved here in San Antonio and all across the country. But ours is a very intentional approach to training and uplifting and taking a chance on people and helping them be successful and providing skills and wraparound services and case management services. You mentioned life skills coaching. That's pretty unique to have counselors. We have licensed professional counselors and we have coaches who help people with all kinds of issues, because people have issues when they come to to work. They've got problems with childcare, or they have problems with a family member, and that weighs on somebody and affects their ability to bring their best self to work. Well, if you had an outlet where you could go talk to somebody and get access to resources, what a tremendous gift that is to employees. And that's one of the things that Goodwill does offer for all of its employees and the people in the community that we're training.
Yeah, that's right. And I love that we do that. And, part of our role here in the marketing and communications team is to talk to our team members and, the people that are in our programs. And a lot of times our team members reference the resources and the programs that we have that are available to them and how that separates us from, other positions and other jobs. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I'm so glad we do that. All right, we're about to wrap up today's show. But before we do, I have one final question for the both of you. The title of our podcast is called More Than a Store, and our aim is to really, really shed a light on all the things that Goodwill does, and we learned a lot about that today, and what it does aside from being a wonderful place to shop. So, Steve, to begin with you, what does More Than a Store mean to you?
Yeah, it really pulls together so many of the elements we were talking about. To your comment just a second ago, we are a place that people come for value. There are so many families who are in Goodwill's when it's back to school, when it's Christmas time, because we are the place that they can come to get affordable, special items for their children, for themselves, and it's so important that we remember that. Number two, our mission is to help every individual in communities develop their full potential. Talent is evenly distributed, opportunity is not. We need to provide that opportunity to people. So whether we're employing people in the store, where we can offer them that support to develop into their fullest potential, whether it's through our job centers, all of that fits into what our social enterprise is intended to do. And you mentioned the sustainability piece. We are now driving forward, becoming a really significant change agent in the world of textiles and other goods. And so, we see these little stores in the corner. We go in and we find special items, but what we do for individuals in the community, what we are doing for our world on so many different levels, all comes out somehow from what is happening in that store.
Right. How about you, Carlos?
Well, he said it so well, and I would agree with that. The first two words that came to my mind when you asked the question were hope and opportunity, because that's what the Goodwill stores mean to me. Hope and opportunity that we provide to our team members, many of whom would have nowhere else to go. Think about some of our store managers who, for whatever reason, ended up on the wrong side of the criminal justice system, and sometimes there's trauma involved. There's a whole host of reasons why somebody gets connected to the criminal justice system. That's the opportunity that Goodwill can provide to people and does provide to people every day. And our 1,900 team members, they all know that and they all feel it. And so that's what I would describe this means to me, is hope and opportunity.
Thank you so much. And Steve and Carlos, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us here and for sharing your incredible insight. I hope that today's episode helped our listeners learn more about the impact that Goodwill has both right here in the community and on a broader scale. And now it's time for our new addition to the podcast, Libby's Final Thoughts. I want to take a moment to reflect on all of the things that we discussed today. So here we go. As a director of communications here at Goodwill, I get to see firsthand the impact that we have here locally, but I know that there is a greater need out there. What I love most about our mission here at Goodwill is that we give people power in their ability to provide for themselves and their families. We do that through work and that work can change a life. I've met countless individuals who have been helped by Goodwill, and what I hear most is that their job gives them purpose and gives them hope for a brighter future. For some, we've helped them with a second chance. For others, we helped with skills training towards a better career. But no matter where they are in their journey, Goodwill has given them a chance. And that is exactly how Goodwill began back in 1902, by providing individuals with a hand up and not a hand out. Because there is a sense of empowerment in knowing that you possess in yourself what it takes to change your life. Sometimes you just need a little help. Thank you again, Steve and Carlos, for joining us today, and thank you to our listeners for tuning into our podcast. If you or someone you know would like to learn more about our programs here at Goodwill, please visit us at goodwillsa.org. And join us next time as we continue our journey of taking you behind the scenes at Goodwill and sharing with you just how we truly are more than a store. This podcast is produced by our multimedia design manager, Yvonne, but we want to take this opportunity to thank the entire marketing and communications team here at Goodwill San Antonio for all their hard work in putting this episode together. And a big shout out to Texas Public Radio for allowing us to record this episode right here in the heart of downtown San Antonio. From one nonprofit to another, thank you. We're truly grateful for your support. More Than a Store is brought to you by Goodwill San Antonio. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay connected with us on all of our social media channels at Goodwill SA. And for more information, visit us at goodwillsa.org. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.